Well, hello there. I'm here to introduce a new series about astrology called Unpacking the Birth Chart. So, what is this series? It's basically videos about how to read a birth chart, how to sort through all the info, and how to deliver powerful readings to your clients. Who is it for? It's for intermediate astrologers. So you need to know some of the basic concepts of a birth chart. If you don't know how to read a birth chart or are not familiar with those sort of things, please check out my beginner astrology curriculum series. So I'm basically making this video series in response to certain problems that I've noticed with other astrologers, of course, and that I've noticed with myself as well when I started out. Problem one is too much information, so including too much data. I kind of think of this problem I was in music and bands and things like that, and there was always, people who were kind of new at playing their instruments and would try to overdo it. They would do, if they were a guitarist, they do a lot of solos, or a drummer, they would try to do too much complex technical stuff and didn't really leave enough room for the music. And I kind of see this as happening with beginning astrologers as well. They include too much data, too much information. They want to fill up all the empty space in the chart with asteroids. They want aspects to everything. They oftentimes will try every single type of chart there is out there. And then when they give readings and they just throw all this information at them, it's very confusing and overwhelming to people, to clients. So what people have to learn is the concept that less is more, and how to declutter and simplify your chart readings. The second problem is there's those that give too little information. So they're afraid to dive into any sort of technical detail. And I call these the zodiac sign astrologers. They just stick with sun signs. And sun signs are great. They tell you a lot about people, but 1 out of 12 people have the same sun sign. And so that's the problem you have with horoscopes, is that it's trying to predict stuff for 1 out of 12 people, which is very hard to do without being vague. And so I just see astrologers who have access to all the information. They've done it a while, but they refuse to, look at any of the technical stuff that go into a chart reading. And, hopefully this will encourage them to dive deeper into the birth chart. And then the other type of astrologer is the one that, how could I describe this sort of astrologer? They're the type of person that are always looking for, almost subconsciously or inadvertently looking for hard stuff, tough stuff in the chart. They're worried about the hard aspects, the hard placements. And when they read other people's charts, they look for those things, which is fine, but they don't look at how it integrates with the rest of the chart, that it serves a purpose, these difficult things. And so I kind of see these as the pessimistic astrologers. And when they give readings to clients, they can be really distressing and stressful, because they basically lay a big heavy I don't know, a lot of fear, a lot of heavy stuff without seeing the light through the end of the tunnel. And it's like these people are trying to avoid pain and struggle in life by looking for all the pain and struggle. And what I see them as kind of lacking a vision of a bigger purpose behind those struggles. Like, why do we go through the pain and hardship that we do in life, and so they can't really see the big picture, and that's what they need. So here's my solution, is to read a chart like a package label. And I've searched for a while to figure out an analogy as to how to read a chart, or what to think of a chart like. And package label just came out of my thoughts here. And the reason is that they're very clear. The labels are very clear as to what's inside. If there's a package slip, contents listed. And then there's a source and destination address. It says where it's coming from and where it's going to. And it has just the right information, not too much and not too little, because it has to be efficient. It has to deliver the package so that you can count on it arriving. Well, if we approach chart reading with the same sort of precision and efficiency, and look for the pertinent info, that's what we're trying to do here. So I look at astrology as showing kind of the package delivery of your soul, by asking you key questions. First question is, who are you? And when it comes to package delivery, that's listing the package contents. And if you look at yourself as a package, what's inside your package? You as a human being, you have fixed traits, you have a personality, you have a spirit. These are things that you identify as yourself, that is being delivered from one location to another. Now that's kind of a tricky concept. Well, what are these traits and personality and that sort of thing? So when we dive into this series, the things that we look at to answer the question, who are you, are what astrologers call the big three: the sun, moon, and ascendant. I also look at the outer planets, the last 4 outer planets: Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, because they move slow and they mark, they're generational markers. So they mark, where you are in time in terms of our collective evolution as human beings. So I look at the big three to identify your personality, and then the outer 4 to look at where you fit in a historical, generational, and collective evolution context. And then also to answer the question of who are you when you look at a chart, is we look at the elements and other concentrations, how the planets are laid out, where in the elements, where in the modes, the hemispheres, stelliums, all that kind of stuff. And then we also want to look at which planets stand out the most in your chart, which we call the dominant planets. Planets that are conjunct the big three. We learn about Guaquilin sectors. We also learn about final dispositors, those sort of terms that you might be familiar with. So I look at those sort of things as identifying who are you, or what are your package contents that you hold inside you that identify you as a person. And as a package, we're also looking at where are you going, of course. There's a source address and a destination address. Well, in terms of this is a little tricky of a concept at first to grasp, but I think it makes sense. We come into this planet, this earth, this body, if you believe in reincarnation, we have past life experiences that define us, or you could look at it as to what we inherited from past generations, from our family. We're a collection of attitudes, values, traits, characteristics. So we start with these. Now, the parts of us that don't change are kind of what's in the package. That's, you know, your personality and certain traits that identify you as a person that do not change. But then there's the parts of you that do change, the parts of you that evolve. And so that's kind of like you're moving from one state of mind to the other. And as you see here, I have a tarot card, the Seven of Swords, that's the ferryman, that's transporting this woman and child from one shore to the next. So you're going from one state of mind to the next. And that's the destination address that's showing where you're going, you know, in mentally, psychologically, you know, all the changes that occur with you in a life of how you grow and develop. And so in terms of a package, that's moving from one state to another, from one place to another. Translate into astrology, translates real nicely into the lunar north, or I have the lunar north nodes, but the lunar north and south nodes, both the north and south nodes. The south nodes are where you're coming from, the state of mind you incarnated with, and the north node is what characters and qualities you're learning throughout your life that mark your development. So then in terms of your source and destination, you also have to figure out how will you get there. Now, you know, that's not really on a package label so much. When someone delivers a package, they have to, the delivery person has to figure out their route. You know, they transport the package between depots, and that kind of goes on behind the scenes. But we can see that in an astrology chart and in our own personal development. It's everything in between your entire life, all the things you've encountered and learned along the way. It is the hard stuff in your chart and in your lives that help you to transform. It's also the easy stuff, the easy things, the talents that you have, natural talents that give you the tools and the skills to get through the hard stuff. When we look at it astrologically, how will you get there? How do you go from your south node to your north node? Is you want to look at the hard aspects and placements in your charts, because that shows you where your struggles are. Those are your squares, oppositions, those sort of things. Also in conjuncts. We want to look at hard planet placements, like, you know, the sign in which they're in their fall or their detriment, or, you know, all of that stuff, to see kind of the difficulties that are in the chart, but not dwelling on those, but seeing those as necessary challenges that help us to grow and to transform. And then we want to look at the soft aspects that are our superpowers. You know, those are your trines, your sextiles, your quintiles, those sort of aspects. Also soft placements, such as planets in their rulerships or their dignities, you know, are dominant, real powerful planets that gives us the strength and talents to overcome those obstacles. So the final question we ask in terms of the package delivery of your soul is, where are you now? You know, so you're being moved from one location to another, psychologically, mentally, spiritually, physically. You know, we go through all these transformations, but how do we track where we are now? And oftentimes you can go online. If you order something online, you can see the tracking information that shows where the package is, you know, between which depots is it being transported from, or where in the route it's being transported from. So oftentimes when we give a chart reading, we're looking at where are you now? And that's in terms of your own personal development. That has to do with the milestones, landmarks, and crossroads that tell us where we are in our journey. So we're looking for clues like, you know, these are the things we need to develop, but where are we in that development? And so when we look at that, we're looking at Saturn returns, because we have 2 Saturn returns that divide our lives into 3 parts: the beginning, a middle, and end. You know, we get a Saturn return every 28 years. So, you know, our first Saturn return is around age 28. The next one is around age 56. So between your first and second Saturn return, you know, is when you do a lot of your long-term work, you know, your long-term investments. So we want to look at that in terms of where are you now, how old are you, and where are you within your Saturn returns. And then we also look at the outer planet transits, again, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the outer 4, because they move slowly and they go around and they trigger different parts of your chart. You know, they trigger aspects, they move through the houses and activate the houses. And so they show a moving progression of where you are now in your development. And so that's basically the 4 big questions that we ask and how we look at them astrologically. So, you know, the question is now, are you ready to rock it? Once you narrow down that kind of information, the pertinent key information in the chart, it's going to electrify your clients, you know. They're going to feel empowered. So what we're saying is no more, I just quoted this lyrics from the Rolling Stones Satisfaction song. He's telling me more and more about some useless information supposed to fire my imagination. So we're not doing that anymore. We're not dumping a whole bunch of information on people. We're giving the useful information that they can digest and process and feel inspired by. So no more of that. And then no more confusion, right? No more confusion. No more disillusion. We feel strong and powerful. We feel, you know, we know our journey. We're looking at our own package slip. So, you know, yes, life is hard. We have these challenges, but we know what it's for, right? So, you know, we know all this stuff, at least when it comes to reading birth charts. You know, it's easier said than done. Of course, life, you know, is challenging in many, and also many ways. But at least when we look at our birth chart, it should give us some clear information as to where we're going, where we're coming from, what we got to go through, and why we got to go through it. So what to expect when you complete this series? You'll be just like this delivery guy with your collar starched, your pants creased, and your charts spiffy, right? Nice and clean. You deliver the goods and make it snappy. You know, bam. Give people what they want, the information they want, the information they need. You know, we go deep enough that the information is pertinent, but not too much. So with that, I look forward to bringing you this new and exciting series, and I think it will be fun and really enriching for you. Thank you very much.